Lesson 4, Restoring Files. This is basically what it's all about. Nobody really cares about backups, but they really care about the restores. Now, as a TSM administrator, you know you can't have a restore without a backup. But trust me, the data owners, the end users, they really don't care about the backups. Being able to restore their files is the important part. A restore is copying the file back from the server to the client system. So you're only sending a copy. The original remains in the backup. You can restore with a GUI or a command line, restore to a new location, restore all or part of your file structure. There's a lot of flexibility with being able to do a restore. If you don't specify the location, by default, your files are restored to the original location. But we're going to show you how you can change locations. You can restore a file to a different directory structure. When you're doing a restore, you're going to have a list. Now, you can either show a list when you're doing a command line restore by using a -pick option, which will provide you a list, or if you're using the Backup Archive GUI, you'll have a list of your files. You can select which copies you're going to restore. Then you're going to also have the ability to restore inactive objects. By default, only active objects are shown. So with the command line, you're going to have to tell it that you want to see the inactive objects. Same with the GUI. There's a way you can tell it, show me everything. This way you can go back in time. You can restore a file that was backed up several days ago, even though it has changed since then. You can force an overwrite. If TSM sees that there's a file that exists already on the client system and you're trying to overwrite it with even a file that was older than the file that's currently there, you have the ability to overwrite. And here's our GUI. Again, DSM or DSMJ from the Backup Archive Client directory will launch the GUI. To start a restore, after you've done your backups, you just click the Restore button. Here's where you select to display active and inactive or only active. Notice display active files only is the default. So if you want to see both, you're going to click the View button. Your navigation tree looks a little different because this is the navigation to your backup files, not your original files. So here's our backup sets. Remember we talked about that in the earlier lesson. This is where they would be located. File level, which is what we're going to be doing in our labs, or image backups. So we would click the plus sign next to file level to open the navigation to select our critical files that we backed up. Now we do have some options. This is selecting our options button. You can select to have all files and directories restored. You can have TSM ask before replacing. If you say do not ask before replace to override, you will then have the ability to do this with all of your restores. You'll see something called no query. Disable no query restore method. The no query restore method is the default method. Way back in TSM history, there were two methods of restore, a classic method and the no query method. The no query method is a lot faster and uses less resources and has become the default. Basically, a classic is where you have multiple conversations back and forth between the client and the server. The client says, do you have these files? The server says, yes, here they are. The client says, I'd like to restore these, etc. With a no query, the client does not query the server. So it's a much faster communication and is the default. A point-in-time restore. Now, if you know which inactive version was written on which date, you could just do that. But an easier way to find a point-in-time restore is to use the point-in-time tab. Then you're going to enter a point in time in which you want to restore to. I want the file backup from this date. Then the point in time will find that specific time. Restores can be restarted. This is important because you might be in the middle of a restore when another high priority process comes in and stops the restore. By default, Actively Storage Manager will know when to pick up the restore and resume at the same point it stopped.